A lot of these notes are kind of like clustered, like, so it's not entirely clear, but I have like most of it, and so I can start with like the basics of how clearly this is some kind of disaster, like apocalypse situation, where nuclear reactors all across the U.S. are being left unattended or something, which I'll get back to later. But the important part is a lot of radiation is occurring, and this is very important in the second act when they start getting the burn marks all over themselves, which leads me to believe that this is not just like a physical, mutation or whatever, it's also affecting them mentally. They show this through the first act with several people.
Are you getting distracted by that? Or?
No. So this is Harry Potter, this is distracting.
Yeah. With several people, forgetting lines in the Simpsons episodes, which is, something that would probably happen in the real world, but, it's just something subtle. And then in the second act, they go on with the guy that has the good memory. He starts forgetting things, and he starts freaking out about it. And so this is more so foreshadowing to what's going to happen in the third act, which nobody understood, but thank God I'm here. So,
Oh no, this is not good.
so, and then everybody brushes it off, kind of. They're like, no, this can't possibly be what's happening. They're all worried, of course, but again, just their brains aren't really functioning properly. They're also having more outbursts with anger, and they're just getting very short-tempered, which is also something I believe could happen with the radiation affecting their mind. It's important to remember that Mr. Burns owns the power plant in the Simpsons show that Homer works at. This is very important for later because his role in that kind of has to do a lot with the symbolism that's used in Act 3. So everybody remembers when they went on that whole rant about like Coke and the stupid wine or whatever. And so commercials are really heavily featured throughout that, and they're really worrying about them for some reason during an apocalypse. They're trying to rebuild society in the second act, but I think they still are like clouded with greed, and you really won't believe it, but I think it's a statement on capitalism. It gets worse. There's more evidence.
Oh god, I'm scared.
I can actually continue with the capitalism part now. So, Itchy and Scratchy are used by Mr. Burns for his dirty work. They're used to kill off the Simpsons, right? But it's also important to remember that they are fictional characters in the Simpsons universe, where they're cartoons. And cartoons come with commercials, and then I believe this has to do with commercials being linked to capitalism and the greed that comes with that, and as well as Mr. Burns' greed, not having any care for human life, and just, he's probably also a representative of the elites that let what happened to the nuclear facilities happen. His greed clouded his judgment, and they say, I think, maybe the first act? No, it was the second act. In the second act, the dude says, people are very incompetent. I need to just get that out there. And so, I think that was maybe more foreshadowing towards what really happened, and how people were just more concerned with how they're going to make a quick buck instead of the society, whatever. Okay.
That's all pretty decent anyway.
Yeah.
Sideshow
Bob?
Yeah.
Sideshow Bob was more so, I think, like a blur between reality and fiction, because that's also very important. With the blur between reality and fiction, this is also shown through Itchy and Scratchy, by the way, because they can still interact with the real people of Springfield, because I think after seeing all those heavy radiation burns and everything, the people of that area genuinely do believe that they are the Simpsons characters. They can no longer defer what is real and what is not. They've been reminiscing over these episodes and trying to make money off of this for so long. that they genuinely believe now that they are the Simpsons. It's also important to remember that this is 75 years into the future, which means that this is now a generational thing.
Dad's coming.
Okay.
Was coming.
Yeah. This is now a generational occurrence. So even the grandkids of the people we saw in Act 1 now believe that they are Homer and Marge and Bart and Lisa.
How do we
and
know
all
they're
that.
grandkids? They're sure they're grandkids?
It's just 75 years in the future. It
Okay.
doesn't really matter.
Okay, I was just asking.
I have something to add. I can also. Thanks. I can also tell, like, they genuinely believed that they were the Simpsons because
No.
you could still see. In Act 3, they still had the same burn marks on them. They didn't remove them or
Exactly.
anything. That was the one thing that I noticed. I'm like, did they do that on purpose? Does that have any meaning? What's going on?
Exactly.
Something that-
and then
Something that I noticed with the blur of like how they're mixing the reality with The Simpsons is because in Act 1 when the girl is talking about how her dad's cousin was trying to refuel the power plant and was running and like feet carried me. One of the guys, the Simpsons were saying like the same thing.
I
Yeah,
don't mean to drag this on. We got like less than 15 minutes. We
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we can kind of wrap this up. So, yeah, like Addie was saying, that dude in Act 1, it was Act 1?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was having trouble distinguishing reality from fiction, and then he snapped back out of it, but clearly they can be stuck in a state of blurred consciousness. This is also shown through them start singing the Simpsons theme in the Flintstones song,
Yeah.
which is really weird. So now they're mixing even more media together, which is just even further.
Okay.
Unable to distinguish anything from The Simpsons.
Yes, and
Everything
so
is The Simpsons.
It's just gonna keep getting worse and worse and worse. But then in Act 3, they kill Mr. Burns. I think this represents also the damage that's been caused by the nuclear power plants and what happened to them. Like, the damage is irreversible. No matter how many times they try and stab Mr. Burns to get rid of him. He quotes, actually, from the beginning, Sideshow Bob, the forever bit they were talking about, and she almost blew the dude's brains out. He says that I will be here forever, and so I believe that the consequences of the radiation are going to be there for a very, very long time. It's irreversible, and it's mainly a message about warning against capitalism and the greed that comes with it. But then, I believe that the main overall theme has to do with Bart at the end, still being alive, and talking about how he is now free somewhat, and he has choices to make and things to do, places to go see. But he's still saying things like, things are blurred, and I believe that this also has to do with him thinking, like, maybe a little bit of sanity left up there, thinking about the real world and how he's never going to get to experience the real world, and, but he never also has to experience the hardships that come with it, like capitalist greed. So, I believe that this mainly is a message about, is it better to be living in a world of illusion where you never get to experience really anything, even with the people you love? He was separated from his family by them dying. He really truly did believe that they had died. But he also he was also thinking, well, maybe it's not so bad because he still has joy that he can experience in this fictional world that his mind is making up for him. So I believe the main message is it so bad to be living in a world of clouded thoughts and illusion instead of the real world with all the daily hardships we face.
Bow, 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 bow.
But hey, that's just a theory.
A
Theater theory! Thanks for watching.